Is James Cook someone that you can trust for the rest of the season? Plus, promotion commotion in this episode of the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Marcus Mosher and Kate Magdziuk.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Podcast, part of the Locked On Dynasty or Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. Follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. She is Kate Magdziuk. You can follow her on Twitter at FFBallBlast. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Kate, we're going to be talking about an awesome Bills Patriots game. Not really. What a stinker. I wish that game was more exciting last night. But we have some takeaways that we need to get to, starting with James Cook, 14 carries for 64 yards on the ground. Also caught 6 passes for 41 yards. Okay, what do we do with James Cook going forward?
I mean, this is, I feel like a changing of the guard, right? Because it didn't seem like no matter how or who they had on the field, like we've seen a myriad of running backs on the field for the Buffalo Bills, but it's always been just Devin Singletary leading the charge. And we haven't seen another running back really take over in that situation. And Marcus, he looked good. He passed the eyeball test in just about every way you could have asked him to.
He looked awesome. Like before we even talk about like the stats and stuff, like he just legitimately looked good.
He looked good. And I think like let's hop into the stats, like another encouraging bit. So you mentioned the target share, 6 targets, 6 receptions, 41 yards. Devin Singletary and Nyheim Hines combined for 4 targets on their own. So literally, like we're already seeing him start to take on that role as a receiver. I love the usage. I love everything we saw in this game from him. I'm bought in. I'm bought into James Cook. He's got the draft pedigree. He's got the skill set. He's got the explosion. And Devin Singletary, I think they like Devin Singletary a lot. But what does he realistically earn with his second contract? I could picture him being affordable enough to stay with this team, but
I agree.
I do think that when it comes down to like build and when it comes down to the future of the running back position for this team, I'm going to take James Cook on that.
I also wouldn't be surprised, Kate, because you mentioned Devin Singletary is a free agent after the year. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, you know what? You were a good player for us. We're going to move on and look for a different type of running back. Maybe somebody with a little bit more size and power to use in like short yardage stuff just to save Josh Allen from himself and just let James Cook be more of the quote unquote feature back. And I think we're starting to see that a little bit more against Cleveland 2 weeks ago, 11 carries for 86 yards. Against the Lions, he had 5 targets, only caught 2 of them. But in this game, 6 targets for 41 yards. Looked good running the ball. I don't know if he's somebody that you can start the rest of the season. I mean, other than maybe as a flex play, but I think there is some hope that by 2023, he could be a pretty solid RB2.
I think RB2 feels it like in the range of possibilities, in terms of size, in terms of, how he profiles as like a true 3-down back. Like he's not going to profile as a bruiser.
No.
Like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if they find another running back that feels like a better answer. 190 pounds, you're not going to rely on that at the goal line. Even Devin Singletary, smaller frame, and they're just starting to utilize him around the goal line finally. But there's still that one missing component, but I think James Cook answers a lot of those other questions that they need. And I'm pretty comfortable that he can at least be a flex play. But is there ever a time where I picture him being an RB1 for fantasy football? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm with you. Still somebody I'm curious to, or interested in buying. One more Bill thought before we move on. Um, okay, Stephon Diggs, one of the most underrated players in Dynasty right now. Again, last night, 7 catches for 92 yards, third straight game with a touchdown. Did you know this year, he's already at 91 receptions for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. And on Dynasty League football, he's being ranked outside of the top 10 receivers.
It's straight up disrespect.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that there's any wide receiver and running back that have as special a connection as Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs does.
Other than maybe
Like
like Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. That might be the only other one.
maybe, like it's the that yeah. I think they showcase every single week just an insane connection. We see the interviews with Josh Allen where he's like, yeah, I encourage Stephon Diggs to break out of the route tree a little bit,
Mhm.
like get creative, do your thing. And you don't find that a lot. And if you do find it, I'm gonna guess there's not a lot of quarterbacks who are in sync enough with that wide receiver that they can just find them on a dime like that. Um, Stephon Diggs, 100% one of the most underrated wide receivers in Dynasty right now. He produces. That's all he does is produce,
Mhm.
and he's tied to Josh Allen. I'm not
Yep.
sure what else. That's literally the recipe for success here. Um, Before we move on, I do want to talk about Gabe Davis, 40 or fewer receiving yards in 6 of
Yeah.
11 games this season.
Yeah.
Um, just hasn't looked in sync with Josh Allen whatsoever. But Marcus, the opportunities have been there. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on Gabe Davis? Because I don't know what to do with him in Dynasty. It's uh kind of like generally feeling like we're setting ourselves up for disappointment every single week. Even yesterday, 7 targets and only pulled in 2 of those for 15 yards and a score. If you told me last year, Marcus, that we'd have 67 targets for Gabe Davis in an 11 a game span, like I would be like, all right, well, he's wide receiver 1.
Do you have his year by year stats pulled up in front of you?
Yes,
All right.
3
They're
straight
really funny.
seasons with 35 receiving
Or
yards.
35 receptions every single year, like basically 600 yards and then 6 or 7 touchdowns. That's his numbers.
Just literally there's no,
It's kind of funny. Um, I'm not panicking. Like if I went out and traded a fortune for Gabe Davis this year, I'm not panicking because you got to remember, he still is really young. He dealt with some injuries earlier in the year. I know he's had some stinker of a games, but Kate, he's still on pace to have like close to 1,000 yards, close to double-digit touchdowns. He's 23 years old. Obviously, he didn't have the breakout year that we were all hoping for, but he has had a bigger role in the offense. He's going to put up the best stats of his career. Let's give it a little bit of time. Be patient here.
I think I would be less inclined to be panicking if it weren't for the fact that 171 of his 665 total receiving yards. That's over a quarter of his receiving yards came in one single game this
Yeah,
season.
it's rough.
It's scary. Like he's going to be one of these guys I think that puts up a great end of season stat line, but I do
Week to
think the
week, it's
ride there is going to be nauseating.
yeah. All right, let's talk about the New England Patriots. But we also want to tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. All you have to do is pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Pick projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. This includes NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is that easy. They're currently operational in over 30 states and in Canada. Download the Prize Pick app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you 100. Deposit 50, they'll give you 50. It's really that easy. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. All right, Kate, we have to talk about the New England side of things. Let's start with the good. Ramondre Stevenson is somebody that needs to be in your lineup every single week. And I think he's going to be a borderline RB1, as we talked about last week. 10 carries for 54 yards, didn't get in the end zone, but looked absolutely awesome as a runner. Also caught 6 passes for 24 yards in the receiving game. So if you're in a full point PPR league, there's 8 points for you right there. He just looks incredible. I'm just so in on Ramondre Stevenson.
So in, and I want to remind everybody that Damian Harris is on the final year of his contract with the New England Patriots. Can I picture this team, coming in, drafting another running back just because they like having multiple running backs in the system? I could 100% see them doing that in the 2023 draft. But Marcus, I still think this is going to be the Ramondre Stevenson show. The just discourse coming out about Ramondre Stevenson and his role and the way that Bill Belichick trusts him implicitly is just it's unique. You don't really find every day that Bill Belichick is willing to talk about players like that. Now, we saw a couple of fumbles. We saw a couple of moments yesterday that I was like, "Ooh, is this boy about to get benched?"
No.
I don't think so. I think he is the absolute real deal. I think, Raheem Mostert, my goodness, still got that flu, guys.
Yeah.
I think that Ramondre Stevenson is going to be one of these running backs that's like a low key RB1, RB2 for the years to come, not just end of season, Marcus. I'm fully in on Ramondre Stevenson.
100% agree. Let's talk about the rest of the passing game. And leading receiver on Thursday night, Marcus Jones, cornerback from Houston, 2 catches for 51 yards and a touchdown.
It's not great, Bob. It's not great.
Tyquan Thornton, 2 catches for 31 yards and 3 targets. Jacoby Myers, 3 catches for 22 yards on 5 targets. Nelson Aguilar, 2 for 17. Devontae Parker, 2 for 16. Kendrick Bourne, 1 for 15. Hunter Henry, 2 for 13. Jonnu Smith, 2 for 13.
It's not good. It's not good. It's really interesting though. You saw a lot of frustration from Mac Jones in this game, and you have to wonder, like, what would this team look like? Because I do think there's talent in this team. I think Jacoby Myers, very talented wide receiver. Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker, even. I think this entire receiving core, like Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, we had those pegged as 2 of the most talented receiving tight ends in the league at one point. Like, they have pieces. Now, it comes down to utilization, I think. And we're not really seeing, one guy separate himself from the pack. I feel like Mac Jones needs a guy to step up the way that Stephon Diggs came and became that target for Josh Allen. We need somebody to step up and become that dude for Mac Jones, and nobody is doing that.
It feels like a lot of complementary pieces that's just missing that guy. And then, Myers can play off of that guy and play in the slot, and Parker can be, the number 2, and Thornton is your field stretcher. But you need that guy that, okay, hey, there's Sauce Gardner on the other side. He's going to still win that matchup in one-on-one situations over and over again.
Yes, and they don't have that piece. They don't have the play caller. It's not like they have a lot of complementary pieces that they can scheme, because they don't have a schemer. So I think right now we kind of have to reserve judgment on Mac Jones. We have to reserve judgment for pretty much all of the pieces in this offense outside of Ramondre Stevenson, just because of the situation. What are they going to do with Matt Patricia? I don't know. Mac Jones had a lot of strong language to say he was not thrilled with the passing game, not thrilled with the running game. Everything sucks, basically. I get Matt Patricia out of here, get Mac Jones, a wide receiver one. And when he does, I think this offense is going to click. Where are we at? Dynasty temperature check on Mac Jones. I don't think the temperature's ever been particularly hot, especially on this podcast.
So I'll give you the quarterbacks that are being ranked around him. You tell me who you'd rather have. Russell Wilson.
Marcus. I'll take Russell Wilson.
Matt Stafford.
I'll take Mac Jones.
Interesting. Okay, Aaron Rodgers.
Mac Jones.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I agree. Derek Carr.
Mac Jones.
I don't know what it is about the Magdziuk family that just hates Derek Carr, but it's whatever. Kenny Pickett.
Mac Jones.
Zach Wilson.
Mac Jones.
Tom Brady.
Mac Jones.
So you're higher on Mac Jones than I think a lot of people. I think you would have Mac Jones somewhere between like QB 14, QB 15. I think I'm a little bit lower. I think I'm more in the QB 20, QB 21 range. Like I would take Russell, Cousins, Carr, all those guys over Mac, but it's not great. Let's just say it's not great.
On a standalone note, Marcus, like on the, I do want to circle back to Matt Stafford because I think that he's like an interesting, player to discuss right now in Dynasty. Like I know he's not with the Bills, he's not with the Patriots, but comparing the Dynasty value of Mac Jones to that of Matthew Stafford, it's kind of like we're in flux with Matthew Stafford. Like what is going to happen? Is he going to play rest of season? Why bother? Honestly,
the only reason why I could see him potentially playing more is because I think they have 3 primetime games coming up.
I don't think you risk your like Matthew Stafford gets one more concussion anytime soon, and
I agree.
We might not see him play football again. Like it's not worth it just because you're in prime time. And that is my concern because I feel like we're one hit away from seeing Matthew Stafford hang up the cleats. And
it's sad.
It's sad because it's been back to back, but like we've seen you can't play around with concussions.
No. And especially when your team is not going to make the playoffs. But are you ready for Raiders Rams next Thursday night?
Yeehaw!
Yeah, I don't know. It's not Cowboys, but it's fine. All right, let's do some commotion because this is just depressing right now, and I want to have to talk about something fun. But before we do that, we want to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Audible. Audible is releasing a slate of new football podcasts that we are sure you're going to love. Find Think Like a Champion now wherever you get your podcasts. Think Like a Champion is a brand new podcast from Russell Wilson and Audible. Russ is a champion on the field, but off of it, we rarely know the grind on the path to greatness. Russell Wilson, alongside co-host Harry Wilson and the late Trevor Morad, dig into high-performance athletes, artists, and leaders who push the boundaries to their potential. You also hear from players like Von Miller, talking about coming back from his injuries to win a Super Bowl and how he's able actually to win 2 Super Bowls and how he's been able to play into his 30s. You get to hear from Tim Tebow talk about winning a national championship. There's Olympic gold medalists, NFL stars, business leaders. Hosts will swap stories and share proven mental techniques that have gotten the world's most elite performers across the finish line and beyond. Available for free on Audible or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Kate, let's do some commotion. Last week, we had just a couple massive hits between Jordan Akins. You had who was your big hit? I forgot. It slipped my mind.
Travis Homer.
Homer. That was a really good one. So yeah, we've been doing very, very well on this show. So let's continue to have some of this hot streak. Who are you picking this week?
All right, this one's like the grossest one I feel like I've had all season, and I hate myself for it. But I'm gonna roll out Tutu Atwell this week.
That was my guy.
Was it really?
Yeah,
okay.
It really was.
I want to shout out Tutu Atwell, who actually ranks 4th among all wide receivers in yards per route run. He's not played a ton this season, but he's actually been super efficient. 7 targets on the year, 4 receptions, 139 yards. That's 4 yards per route run. Just again, every time he's had the opportunity to see the ball, he's been super efficient. Now, last week played a season high 52% of offensive snaps. Again, didn't translate to much, but I think that this is going to be an opportunity where Seattle, they've been a better secondary than most people have given them credit for. I think this season,
Mm-hmm.
they're doing quite well, but they have been allowing some yards after the catch. And I do think that's going to be an opportunity for Tutu Atwell to, break off a play, so show some of that explosive playmaking ability and keep doing his thing, especially if he's playing. But the biggest question for me, Marcus, Tutu Atwell played the majority of his snaps split out wide last week. He is 5'9", 165
Sean,
pounds.
come on.
Sean, what are we doing, Sean?
That's insane. Get him in the slot. Cooper Kupp is not there. You can use this guy as a slot. You can give him touches in the backfield. Let's actually use your second round pick a little bit. See what he can do going forward. So I want to see more Tutu Atwell. Okay, I just have one guy for me this week. Just one guy. You know how gross I like to pick names. You ready?
Yeah.
This player has 3 carries on the year, and I want you to start him in the running back position this week.
Oh no.
Amir Abdullah.
Oh my God.
So here's the thinking behind this.
What year is it?
Yeah, I know. The Raiders are playing the Chargers this week, and the Chargers have, I believe, one of the worst run defenses in all fantasy football. They're allowing the 28th most points to opposing running backs. They can't stop guys on the ground. They can't stop players in the receiving game. Quietly, Amir Abdullah has caught at least 3 passes in 4 of the last 5 games. They're starting to use him more as like the passing down guy, and I just get the feeling with the Chargers pass rush that they're going to use a lot more of Abdullah, and I think Josh Jacobs is more banged up than people want to admit. I know he's coming off a 300-yard game, and how in the world do you start another running back after Josh Jacobs had 300 yards? I think Jacobs is going to be pretty limited in this game. So play Amir Abdullah.
That's a gross one. Speaking of injuries, I think that I'm willing to throw out JaMychal Hasty in this week 13 contest against the Lions, who they've actually been like a relatively solid rushing defense. What I'm interested in is potentially starting him for some of that receiving upside. So saw what he did last week when Travis Etienne was out of the game. But I think what's more interesting is the fact that this team was really cautious with Travis Etienne. He had been cleared to return, and we saw they decided to keep him sidelined. And I think they had planned to do that as long as things kept running in the game, in the in terms of efficiency with this team, as long as they were moving the ball. Because I think they want to preserve their running back. They don't want, like, they already lost him to a foot injury last season. They don't want to, I think, rock that boat much further. So I could see them keeping JaMychal Hasty involved in this game. 5 targets, Marcus. I think 5 targets is going to be enough. And if they can't run the ball super efficiently against this Lions run defense, I do think that they're gonna continue to scheme these running backs in the short passing game, and JaMychal Hasty could.
Yes, he's also
could be
a
an
pretty decent
interesting
player.
play.
Like, that's the other thing. Like, if you're going to start somebody like this, you want to believe in the talent, and I do believe it with Hasty. I just think he's a good player. Get him in your lineup.
Even without an Etienne injury, Marcus, each of the last 4 games has played 19 or more % of offensive snaps, which isn't like a high threshold. But for a backup, I'll I'll take that. I'll take that.
All right. That is it for today's show. Thank you for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow our show on YouTube. Please go check us out over there. Check out Kate on Twitter at FFBallBlast. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. Enjoy we're in week 13 now. Yeah. Week 13 games. We'll be right back here on Monday to break it all down. See you guys next time.